from Nashville, Tennessee. It's the Three. And here's your host, Laura Harris-Smith.
Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Harris-Smith, and welcome to The Three. I know you remember the show guest that we have on today. She was with us last season for not one, but 2 episodes, and I'm welcoming her back today. Her name is Cheryl Chumley. She is the online opinions editor from the Washington Times and a phenomenal author. And my friend, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
It's good to see you again.
Yes.
How are things in Washington, D.C.?
About the same.
In an election
right,
year.
right. A little bit divided. But
Just a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, so before we get into your many books, and you've got 2 more coming out this year,
Yes.
tell us what's going on at the Times.
Well, the Washington Times is doing really well. Unlike other media, they're actually growing and adding new products and so forth. We're doing video, and the Washington Times is just, it's a dream job for me. It's really, it's the place that I'm so happy to be at.
So, and remind the viewers where you were before that, because I know your journey has been really interesting
yeah.
getting to the Times.
Yeah, I don't think we have time to go through all my background, but I came up through local news, and I put in my time in local news, and I'm a veteran. I was in the military. I did different things. I was a diesel mechanic, for instance, for a while.
I don't think I knew that. You were a diesel mechanic.
Because I did it in the military, and when I got out, I couldn't get a job in journalism, so I did that for a couple of years.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So you share that in common with Queen Elizabeth then, because she was
That's right.
Right,
Yes,
she
yes.
sure was,
Yep.
and you hear stories of how she would break down somewhere and have the issue fixed before her mechanic even got there, you know,
Yep.
and she would say, "I'll remind you." But anyway, I didn't know that part about you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so you've been at the Times for how long?
About 7 years now.
7 years.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know that when we talked last time, I think the thing that I was most amazed at, I know the Times is a conservative paper, but you live in a city that is just not
Right.
conservative.
Right.
And my question to you last time was, how do you do it? I have friends who are living in Washington, D.C., and they want out.
Right.
I mean, they are just fried. Some of them are in ministry,
Right.
and they say it's even difficult being in ministry in Washington, D.C. They work for a church. One couple works for a church, and they just, every time we're with them, they tell about the woes of literally having to live in a city that it's not just divided. There's just like a spirit of division everywhere you go. So just really practically speaking, since I even had one show guest on this season so far who has written a book about politics, how to be in politics when you hate politics. It's a book basically that describes how to not lose all your friends and sell your soul, even though you want to have those political discussions with people. So how do you, living as a citizen, but also, you know, as a journalist in Washington, D.C., how do you maneuver that? I mean, you're raising a family there as well.
So first off, I get to work from home most of the time, so I don't.
That's a blessing.
I don't start the workday frazzled from a long commute, right? Because a lot of people, before they even
That's
get
a
to
part of
work,
it.
yeah, they're stressed out. So I'm blessed enough to be able to work from home. And second off, you know, politics gets me. Every day, I see what's taking place in this country and around the world, and you know, you can choose. Are you going to be despairing about it, or are you going to step back and see it from God's eyes? And that sort of keeps you grounded when you're a Christian in the news and seeing what you see every day.
The book title, I'm sorry, it had the left in it, the title. What was the
most recent one was Lockdown, the Socialist Plan to Take Away Your Freedom.
The Socialist Plan to Take Away Your Freedom. Okay. In that book, which is what my viewers are probably going to remember, tell us what happened. In the wake of that book, do you feel like it was successful? And I don't mean in terms of sales. I mean in terms of, as an author, when it's the passion that rises up in you to get a message out. Do you feel like you were able to communicate everything in that?
Yes, because part of the reason I wrote Lockdown wasn't just to record historically how we got to where we got in America, right? The government using fear to seize liberties, but
During all the COVID lockdowns. is
Right,
what
the
you're
COVID
referencing, yeah.
lockdowns. But it was also to look ahead and to warn Americans that the government, once they tasted that power,
Yep.
they weren't going to go away. And now, if you look at what takes place, we've got that pandemic treaty at the World Health Organization.
Exactly.
And Democrats, they keep pushing for more and more. So, yeah, I feel like I got my message, and it was the right message.
It was very much a prophetic book in that it was obvious, that we were in lockdown.
Right.
But the fact that it was an agenda and that there would be other lockdowns to come, and I mean, Jesus even tells us in Matthew 24, there's going to be more pandemics, there's going to be more pestilence and all kinds of wars and rumors of war. So we're not surprised that there are other things coming, but you literally called it an agenda. You called that the control of that a means by which the government could use fear to control us. So the reason I invited you on the first time was because I was fascinated by this idea that you were willing to be that lone clarion voice saying, you guys better get ready. This is more than they're not just looking out for your health here. This is a matter of control. So when I say it was a prophetic book, I mean, it's like Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Cheryl Chumley. Okay, you're prophesying into the future about. No, I'm saying that, not you, but I'm saying you are in the 21st century saying, look out, because this is happening in the nation. That's what their messages were. This is happening in the nation, and this is how it's going to affect your house. And so I have not spoken with you about the success of the book since then to be able to really ask you, do you feel like people are hearing the message? Do you think they're understanding?
That's a good question, right? And on surface, it seems like people have learned their lessons from the government's, seizure of liberties.
Overreach, really.
Yeah, but honestly, I don't think so, because you see too many young people nowadays wearing face masks regularly, walking down the street by themselves. And to me, the bigger concern with the whole coronavirus crazy was the mindset shift that took place. In America, right, we're based on individual rights, and we get those rights and liberties from God.
Right.
And under the coronavirus, we were told that we couldn't rely on ourselves any longer. We had to do for others. So we started turning into this more collectivist mindset, and that still lingers.
Yeah, it definitely is still lingering. All right, well, when we come back from the break, we're going to get into a little bit more about that, because I don't know that that's done. You're right. I just saw somebody last week in a mask, and I'm like, when does this overreach end? But we also want to talk about Cheryl's new book, so be right back after the break. Some people don't yet realize that essential oils were put by God into our leaves, trees, flowers, and grasses on the third day of creation, all to promote health, provide prevention, and yes, even cures. Other people get that, but maybe they've never had any real success with one particular essential oil, which is why I create oil blends, giving you a better chance for a positive result with numerous health benefits. But there's one thing we all agree upon, and that is that essential oils smell good. They fill up a room with any mood that you need, anytime that you need it. We call it aromatherapy. But maybe you don't know the science behind why aromatherapy works. You see, we inhale through our nasal passages, and the nasal passages have direct access to the limbic brain, which is the emotional center of the brain. This means that scent is immediately tied to mood, but that's good news because you can change your mood by merely changing the aroma in your room. It's like therapy in a bottle, and that's why we call it aromatherapy. At Neuromatics Oil, we take the business of aromatherapy very seriously. We offer you a wide variety of options: candles, diffuser sets, nasal inhalers, even diffuser jewelry so that you can wear your essential oils all day long. Quiet Brain for natural relief from insomnia, anxiety, headache, and more. Happy Brain to lift mood and even help with appetite suppression and depression. And Sharp Brain to help with focus and cognitive memory issues. Naturally, the oil blends themselves, applied topically on the skin, are going to provide faster and more potent relief. But if you're looking for a way to enjoy our oil blends without using them on the skin, aromatherapy is for you. And Neuromatics Oil has you covered. Go to lauraharrismith.com/CTN or use your phone and scan the QR code on your screen with your camera app. Or call 1-855-784-3827. That's 1-855-QUIET-BRAIN.
1-855-784-3827. That's 1-855-QUIET-BRAIN.
Did you know that there are more than 600 Bible references to aromatic plants and essential oils? Did you know that once upon a time they were our only medicines? they're still medicine today. You see, God made plants and their essential oils to support your health. They're drug-free remedies that can be used from the comfort of your own home with little to no side effects. And although only 5% of natural products get patented, my oil blends, Quiet Brain, Happy Brain, and Sharp Brain, did, because third-party lab tests proved that they crossed the blood-brain barrier with potent relief for everything from migraines to memory loss, insomnia, anxiety, seizures, weight problems, even depression. So go to neuromaticsoil.com today to see my patented oil blends, and there are dozens of therapeutic products, healing lotions, bubble baths, nasal inhalers, even shampoo and conditioners, all created by our family for the health of yours. Go to lauraharrissmith.com/CTN or call 1-855-784-3827. 1-855-784-3827. That's 1-855-QUIET BRAIN. Hi everybody, I'm Laura. You're watching The3. I'm here with my friend Cheryl Chumley. She is the online opinions editor at the Washington Times, and she is also a prolific author, having pumped out 2 books this year since I've seen you, and it's only been 9-10 months since I've seen you. So tell us about these. Just start with the first one that's on your heart, and describe to us, we can go into chapters in a moment, but describe to us the overall vision of the book and why you wrote it.
So I'll deal with the nonfiction one first.
Okay.
That comes out September, and it's called God-Given or Bust, Defeating Marxism and Saving America with Biblical Truths.
Wow.
And as the title suggests, I'm concerned about, the state of America. It seems like the Democrat Party has they've turned down this anti-America path, and they're more like Marxists nowadays.
It is like Marxism.
And the first part, God-given or bust, this is it. God-given or America goes bust. I mean,
Wow.
we really need to turn back to God as a nation.
I'm positive then, if this is what the book is about, that you discuss BLM, you must discuss all of these organizations that are coming up that are really turning us into, potentially, a Marxist union. And I had another show guest recently who we were talking about just the last 100-year history of the world and where Marxism came from, and how many people from those countries, and communist countries even, came here to escape it and now are saying,
Yes.
it's happening
Yes.
here. So go into, as far as you want, into the weeds there about what your concerns are.
So my concerns are that people go to church on Sunday, but then they leave those principles and truths, in the church pews. And what I really wanted to do was show people how to, and this is a little bit lofty, but show people how to apply biblical truths to what's going on in the political world.
Wow.
Because we have this argument in America from the left that says the founding fathers were atheists or secularists, and politics and religion don't mix. And in this country they do, and they have to in order to keep our freedoms.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have heard people talk about the founding fathers and how, boy, they just make them sound very different than the founding fathers that I studied about and that I learned about. And it's very convenient, it feels like, for them to try to rewrite history. And all it takes is investing that indoctrination in one generation.
Yes.
And then they teach it to their children, and so on and so on. What do you feel is, and you said it was a lofty goal, to help people apply biblical concepts into politics. Give us a few of those. I don't think it's too lofty at all. I think every American is being called right now to apply biblical concepts to everything in their life, and so we are in a political season. What do you say to the average American who's like, well, how can I do that then? How can I apply biblical precepts there?
Right. So I say lofty because I'm not a pastor, right? And I just read the Bible, right?
Yeah.
I'm just a person who reads the Bible. And one thing that I noticed in the Bible, and I think God drew me to this passage, was Psalm 91 under the coronavirus. And if you read it, he speaks to sickness and, curing.
He sure does.
Right.
He
So,
sure
okay,
does.
so you're familiar with it as well. And the Bible speaks to the very same things that we deal with in America today, right? That we need to see from biblical viewpoints, from godly eyes. So it's really about reading the Bible and then taking the messages and looking at what's going on in the news and seeing how they really do meld together.
Yeah, and if you will just watch the news through the lens of scriptural, even scriptural prophecy, end times prophecy. You're reading the Bible when you watch the news, you know, and as I have said many times on this show, you still see Ishmael and Isaac fighting in the Middle East, you know, the two brothers of Abraham, who one was a child of promise, one was a child of slave, and so much of the conflict in the Middle East is from the pages of the Bible. It's right there. And so what I love about what you're doing, Cheryl, is you're making this really practical for families. You yourself have a family of 4 children, and you, I would imagine, growing up in the Chumley household, it is a household of making sure that you are impacting society with your life, with your life. You've been given one. So I have the disadvantage of not having the book in my hands right now, but go over a couple of the chapters in it that you really felt like, and I know this as an author, there's usually a couple of them that you start with that you're like, this is it, this is the message I have to get across. What is that for you in this newest book?
Well, in the book that's coming out, the chapter, and it probably seems completely random to you, but it's not. It's the chapter I wrote about the chips war. The chips war that we're having with China and so forth.
Okay.
And if you look at even that from a biblical viewpoint, right? In modern times, if you as a nation turn from God, God, after a certain amount of time, will say, okay, have at it.
That's right.
And allow other nations to take over. And if you look at how that's playing out just in technology right now, I go into some real details about what's going on with the chips and so forth against China, which I guess it does sound maybe a little random, but it's really not.
No,
it's just,
it's not. Explore, what are you talking about with the chips?
How China, like the chips that go into manufacturing, into healthcare and so forth, and we gave all that away because we were a little bit lusting for profit, and we outsourced our manufacturing and so forth. So here comes China happily picking up the slack for them, right?
Yeah.
And now we're at a serious national security disadvantage.
Yes.
And so that does relate to your relationship with God. It really does.
And how so? I was about to ask you, like, how does that, 1 minute we're talking politics, and the next minute we're talking our relationship with God. What do you mean by that?
Well, look, when I talk about your relationship with God insofar as national security, look at Israel. By all, human eyes, Israel should not be alive right now,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
And so there is some godly intervention, and we know this because the Bible says once Israel is created, it will never, it will never be destroyed. So in America, it's the same way, right? We were built on a nation of people who were looking for religious freedom. And the Mayflower and the Founding Fathers, they all talked about being that light on the hill, right, for the rest of the world. And we have lost that. And so when we lose individually our relationship with Christ, then as a nation, we start to go down a path where we put God secondary to government. And that's where national security, all these issues become vulnerable because you're dealing, instead of with God's protection, you're dealing with human protection, and that's, fallible.
We do not want to be without God's protection as a nation. I know, let's get really practical. I know that as a mom of 6 kids, I have prayers of protection that I pray over them. Now, they have the choice to stretch the bounds of those prayers of protection, or they can live in such a way that they live in that protection. So what I hear you saying is that we have stretched the bounds of that whole layer of protection. Israel's a great example in terms of when in the Old Testament they would get away from the Lord, God would send a foreign nation to spank them, they'd get back to the Lord, they'd get back, it was on and off and on and off, and many exiles. And so what I don't want to see happen, and I know that no one does, is for America to fall subject to or come under the control of some foreign nation. And yet what we see happening is that it's happening technologically. It's happening through illness. It's happening in ways that I believe people are looking at the front door for it to come in, and it's coming in the back door.
Right.
That's what my main concern is that America's not awake to this. We talk about being woke. We need an awakening and a great awakening, but we need an awakening to the truth of how to better stay protected.
Right.
I mean, is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. And you know, if you look at America's borders right now, they're totally open borders, and we don't know how many and what countries and what the motivations are of many of these people who are crossing the border right now. And you know, that's a biblical issue. That's a moral failing on the part of the administration. It's not simply politics. It's a moral issue. It's the failure of this administration to uphold law and order and to put concern for American citizens over illegals.
Yes.
So,
you know, we're pastors, and we do work with the homeless, and we've had homeless people show up at our front door. They found out where we live. They showed up at our front door, and we help and we supply them. That's much different than if they try to hop over our privacy fence and get in the back door. That is not something I'm going to help. That puts me in a defensive posture. And so I am all for immigrants coming into this nation. It's the coming in the wrong way, the illegal way. And so when you speak of our southern border, I mean, it's scary. And I have 2 friends whose children died of fentanyl overdoses unknowingly. And so that is a whole other, argument there. But I'm glad that you brought the border up when we're talking about protection. All right, come right back after the break. We have so much more to discuss with Washington Times online opinions editor, Cheryl Chumley. Be right back. So you're on our website trying to select your favorite products, or maybe put a gift package together for a friend. Well, we've done the work for you. Our Pause package encourages rest and contains 1 Quiet Brain healing lotion, therapeutic bubble bath, and a Quiet Brain 50-hour burn candle. Our Uplift package gives you a real mood boost with a Happy Brain candle, healing lotion, and bubble bath. The Self-Care package contains the Quiet Brain healing lotion, bubble bath, and healing shampoo and conditioner. Our Awaken package is made with our Sharp Brain blend and includes 1 nasal inhaler, 1 dropper bottle of oil, 1 bottle of healing lotion, and a Sharp Brain candle. The Sweet Dreams package is popular because it contains 1 dropper bottle of Quiet Brain oil, 1 satin sleep eye mask, and a copy of my best-selling book, Seeing the Voice of God, what God is telling you through dreams and visions. And don't forget our Quiet Brain gift box, our best value, with a sampling of almost all Quiet Brain products. 1 Whisper Quiet Nightlight Diffuser, 1 dropper bottle of oil, a nasal inhaler, candle, shampoo and conditioner set, and even a satin sleep eye mask. But my personal favorite is our trio oil sets that allow you to sample all 3 of our patented neuromatic oil blends while only paying for 2. They're available in dropper bottles, rollerball bottles, and our eyedropper pump bottle. Scan the QR code on your screen, go to lauraharrissmith.com/CTN, or call 1-855-784-3827. That's 1-855-QUIET-BRAIN.
1-855-784-3827. That's 1-855-QUIET-BRAIN.
Hey guys, I'm Laura. You're watching The Three. We're here with Cheryl Chumley. This is an exciting show. First of all, Cheryl, I'm so glad that you came to NRB. We're filming at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention again this year. I don't think I ever would have met you had we not both been at the last one in Orlando together. So I'm thankful that you came to Nashville. But before we get into your other book, which is a fiction book, that's going to be exciting. I want to hear what that's about. We were talking before the show, or before this last segment, about just, let's get really practical. America is out from under, we're fearing even God's protection. This involves a deeper conversation about spiritual protection, getting back on track with God spiritually, but in a very practical sense. You, and even working at the Washington Times and living in Washington, D.C., we have security issues, and people do not realize that what's happening in these, we'll call them enemy nations, is they are infiltrating. They're infiltrating through our technology. They're infiltrating through many different areas. What's an area that someone can be on the lookout for? It's happening. It's coming into their home. This overreach, not just to the government, but let's just take, for example, TikTok. Okay, every one of us got upset over the Chinese weather balloon that was floating across the country, but we all have a weather balloon in our pockets because of TikTok. So give some practical things that people can do to be on guard and better protected as Americans.
So if you're a parent, right, which you are, I am as well, one of the easiest things you can do as a parent is limit what your kids are allowed to see or hold or watch.
Okay.
In my family, nobody got cell phones until they were driving age because they didn't need one, right? I
Yeah.
just, 3-year-olds running around with a phone.
I know it. I know
that
it.
didn't, because you can't really control at all times what they see. So that's kind of an easy solution. Something else you can do in your home is eat dinner together as a family. Nobody does that anymore.
It's true.
I didn't know that nobody did it anymore until a few years ago when I started. I
Because
heard
you
from,
did, and we
right,
didn't. You're like, everybody does it.
Right. Heard from my kids' friends, and everybody eats in different areas of the home, but that's where you draw together in faith, right? That's
is.
where you say your family prayer,
It is.
and that's where you hear about the crazy things that go on in school.
Right.
So you can help, counter those at home.
Well, I know that, yes, the internet is many of us have known that, most of us have known that there definitely need to be parameters there. And of course, there's softwares and protection. But in general, the younger a child is when they get a cell phone or just have unlimited, unguarded internet access, even at home, there's multiple computers throughout the house or whatever. Back 20 years ago, almost, I had an issue where I was being surveilled, and I had all this information I was gathering and I couldn't get anybody to believe me.
Right.
And then once it came out, they're watching all of us, and so it's not so much Big Brother-ish anymore. It's just modern technology. It's easier to do it. So I appreciate you giving us some ideas there. And I know it looks. Can you stick around and do another show?
Sure.
Okay,
Yes,
because
yeah.
I would really like to get more into your next book at that time.
Okay.
And guys, you're going to love it. I have great admiration for people who write fiction and teach through the fiction. So I can't wait to hear what this is about. But in our closing just seconds here, what's something else that someone can do just in their household, and tell us where they can get the book again. What's the title of it?
God-Given or Bust. It will be coming out in September.
It will be coming out in September.
Amazon. You can pre-order it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazon, where good books are sold.
Right.
So let's say you're a mom, you're a dad. What's just one thing besides eating together, watching social media, what can they do?
I'm coming at this from a background of atheism into being a Christian,
Wow.
so I'll just say this. It's not trite. Read your Bible. Because if you read your Bible every day and teach your kids to read it, they're going to be armed with
That's so good.
whatever weapon they need to fight off whatever comes their way.
That is so good. That is so good. All right, Cheryl. You say you're not a pastor, but I tell you, you have a shepherd's heart somewhere in there because you're engaged with the family. You have a family, and you want American families to be stronger. Strong families make strong society, right?
Absolutely.
All right. I will see you in the next episode.
All right.
Stick around. We're going to have her back for a part 2. Bye-bye, everybody.